Welcome, everyone. This is your Sharp Squares podcast for week 7 of the NFL season 2024-25 with Greg Roth and the ambassador David Eby. I am Eric Glazer, and I'm here to report to you week 6 results. For the first time in Sharp Squares history, in our illustrious, 5 years, 6 years, we went over. Last week, our middle games, 0 for 6. Pick 5, 0 for 5, 3, 2, 1, 0 for 3. Nothing else has to be said. Absolute colossal mess. We can't get worse than that. 2 weeks ago, I said we couldn't get worse than that, Greg. Now, statistically, we can't get worse than that. Sharps in aggregate, 31.7% for the season. This is ugly, but we do it when we're winning, guys. So I got to do it when we're losing. I'm going to get through it quickly. All Sharps, 42.6%. Metal games, for the first time in Sharp Squares history, is below 500 at 45.9%. Our pick 5, I believe, for the first time since we started the show, below 500, 43.3%. 3-2-1 is just a debacle. We have earned only a third of the possible points available. 12 out of 36 points. Incidentally, because I'm sure folks want to hear some of the carnage, we have 4 Sharps who have made at least one pick a week this season that are doing anything of value for us right now. Adam Chernoff is 10-6. He's 62.5%. Chris Raybon, he's 61.1% at 11-7. Marco D'Angelo, with the new format of Wager Talk and Bet On It, doesn't make that many picks, but he's 5-1 actually, 83.3%. And EB, get ready for this. David Berman, 5-3 at 62.5%. Who
follows Greg Roth on Twitter?
There you go. Incidentally, our Sharps this season, when they take the favorite, 55.6% against the number. When they're on the dog, 32.7% so far on the season. People to get mad at, if you want to get mad at it. These guys are going to bounce back, by the way. But folks who are not doing well, we are familiar with. Steve Fezzik's at 49%. RJ Bell's at 36.4%. The guy with the all-time top 1 or 2 records since we've been doing this, Mike Lombardi, 40%. Stuckey, 33.3%. Rob Pizzola, 12.5%. The Favorites Pod, 33.3%. Cleve TA, 45.5%. And I could go on and on.
Eric, I'm wondering, with all the struggles of our Sharps this year, including some of our top Sharps from previous years, how do you adjust the algorithm to account for it?
Yeah, so about 3 times a season, we'll look at how Sharps are doing, and we will make very minor adjustments. We know that the sample size is small, but we'll make minor adjustments. Some guys that are newer, like last year, it took 2 adjustment periods before we finally increased the weight of AJ Hoffman. If everyone remembered, he was just on fire for 2 straight seasons. And actually, he's not tracked anymore because he doesn't make NFL picks. CBS Pick 6 guys who don't make picks anymore either. Those are actually really successful Sharps for us that now are no longer in the algorithm. But Greg, we do make small adjustments. We made some prior to last week. Go figure. And we won't make any, for a few more weeks because we just got to let things marinate because you never want to overreact to one week or the other. Does that give you some clarity, kind of?
It does, as long as you're making adjustments. There's nowhere to go but up from last week.
That was then, and this is now. To provide you with our top picks for this week in a segment we like to call Gold, Silver, and Bronze, is everyone's favorite fellow degenerate, the Greg Roth.
Eric, thank you so much. Hello, Ambassador. We have 4 medal games tonight. There are no gold games. I think that's the second week in a row there have been no gold games. There is 1 silver game, and there are 3 bronze games. The silver game, the top-rated game on the board. The picks, the Miami Dolphins, they're plus 3.5. I don't know who's going to be playing quarterback, but they're in Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Adam Chernoff and Mike Lombardi both picked the Dolphins. Nobody took the Colts. 3 bronze game, the top-rated bronze game. The picks, the San Francisco 49ers, they're -1.5, welcoming the Kansas City Chiefs to San Francisco in a Super Bowl rematch. Stuckey, Gil Alexander, Whale Capper all picked the 49ers. Fabian Summer in dissent picked the Chiefs. The second bronze game. The picks, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're -3.5 in New York to take on the Giants. Steve Fezzik, Scott Seidenberg, Chris Raybon, and Mike Lombardi all took the Eagles. Ross Tucker and Fabian Summer like the Giants. The last medal game. Bronze. Green Bay Packers is the pick. They're -2.5 in Lambeau, welcoming the Houston Texans. The Favorites Podcast and Mike Lombardi both took the Packers. Nobody picked the Texans. So in summary, the Dolphins are silver. The 49ers, Eagles, and Packers are bronze. Gentlemen, our picks, the pick 5, clearly the 4 medal games. Dolphins +3.5, 49ers -1.5, Eagles -3.5, Packers -2.5. And then the 5th pick, we're just going with the 5th highest rated game. It was lumped in with some other games, not a medal game, but it is the New York Jets at -1.5. Let me set that game up for you. They're in Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Chris Raybon, Whale Capper, Scott Seidenberg picked the Jets. Steve Fezzik, RJ Bell, and Tommy the Hitman did pick the Steelers in dissent. In 3-2-1, we have a little bit more change. First of all, the Seahawks and Lions go from non-medal status all the way into our 3-2-1 stats. I'll get to that in a second. The Eagles move up to our 3-point game. Why? The Eagles line in DraftKings -3.5, but in our 3-2-1 pool, it's -3. That elevates them over the Dolphins and 49ers. And then the Seahawks and Lions leap everybody also because of line value. The Seahawks, let me set up that game. They're +3 at Atlanta. They're 2.5 in DraftKings. That's the difference. Stuckey, Rob Pizzola, Fabian Summer, Mike Lombardi, and Cleve TA all took Seattle. There was this significant dissent on Atlanta, by the way. David Bierman, Whale Capper, and RJ Bell took the Falcons. As far as the Lions, they're +2.5 in our 3-2-1 pool, but only +1.5 in DraftKings. They're in Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Mackenzie Rivers, Chris Raybon, Gil Alexander, the Favorites Podcast, and Mike Lombardi all took Detroit. But get this, Scott Seidenberg, Ralph Michaels, Fabian Summer, Rob Pizzola, and Kelly Stewart, and RJ Bell all took the Vikings. Very split game. Could have gone either way, guys.
Yeah.
There you have it.
In fact, and then also in 3-2-1, the Dolphins and the 49ers were essentially a dead heat with the Lions. We took the Lions because of the line value. And in fact, on DraftKings, on our DraftKings pool, the Vikings would have been the pick because of the line adjustment and just what you said. All those different sharps going in each way.
The Dolphins dropped from +3.5 in DraftKings to +3 in 3-2-1. That's part of it. As far as the 49ers, that line didn't move, but the Lions and Seahawks line value leaped over the 49ers.
That's right. All right. Well, if that's all you were looking for, you are now all dismissed. Those of you who want to stick around, we're going to do some trends, and then followed by that, we'll throw some handicapping highlights your way as well. All right, I'm going to start things off. These trends are for Lock and Cash at Lock and Cash on X. Road Dogs off a bye versus teams on a winning streak are 38-25-2 or 60.3% ATS. Those picks this week are the Dolphins +3 and the Chiefs +1.5. Trend number 2, Road Dogs on a 3-game losing streak are 61.7% ATS, 37-23-1. That's over the last 5 years, including 3-0 so far this season. Seahawks +3, Panthers +7.5. Final trend from Lock and Cash, Lamar Jackson versus the NFC, 22-1 straight up, 2-0 this season. Could be a play if you want to take the money line here. Ravens -180 at Tampa Bay.
From Bet Labs at bet_labs on Twitter X. Road favorites, in case you didn't hear, went 10-0 against the spread in NFL Week 6. If you want to stick with that trend for Week 7, you'll want to go with the Bengals at Cleveland, Eagles at Giants, Jets at Pittsburgh, Ravens at the Bucs, and Chargers at Arizona. You might have heard that Patrick Mahomes does pretty well against the spread as an underdog. His record in that situation is 11-1-1. And apparently a lot of bettors are aware of that because 83% of the bets at MGM, maybe that's BetMGM, are on the Chiefs, who are a 1.5-point underdog in San Francisco. A Mike Tomlin trend for you. In the Mike Tomlin era, the Steelers are 19-6-3. That's 76% against the spread as home underdogs. They, of course, are playing the Jets this week, getting 1.5. Finally, some Jared Goff trend for you. Jared Goff is 21-9 against the spread as an underdog with the Lions. That's 70%. And the Lions, of course, are a 1.5-point underdog at the Vikings. Also, Jared Goff indoors, you might have heard, is pretty good. 26-10 against the spread. That's 72%. And he's 4-1 against the spread this season.
All right, one of our top games of the week, the Dolphins plus 3.5, handicapping highlights. The theme here is which QB will make the most costly error, Richardson or Huntley. It looks like Richardson at the time of recording this on Friday evening is going to be playing. We'll see, obviously, Flacco if he's not. The synopsis is pretty simple. The Dolphins are coming off a bye. They had a chance to get Huntley better prepared. They showed some promise against the Patriots last week, and the Colts are a little bit overpriced. Todd Wishnoff from Beating the Book, Adam Chernoff from Right Angle Sports had essentially the same exact handicap. I'll start with Chernoff, and I'll throw in some Wishnoff. Colts price is too high, too steep. Miami is coming off that bye. Colts barely scraped by the Titans, and this is just too much of a bump in the market. Wishnov also adds he doesn't really care if Richardson or Flacco is at QB. It won't make a difference in the line. Miami team is just not good, but they have a whole week to figure it out against a Colts team with a vulnerable Colts defense. We have one sharpened dissent, Mike Renner from Pushing the Pile. He thinks the Colts advantage has an advantage at QB on the offensive line and the defensive line. And even though the Colts are banged up, so is Miami, and their QB drop is worse than the Colts, and they have a leaky offensive line. Here are the timestamps for this. GM Shuffle, 45 minutes, 42 seconds. Beating the Book, 30 minutes, 33 seconds. And Pushing the Pile, 24 minutes and 15.
All right, now we've got the handicapping highlights for the Eagles at the Giants. The pick is the Eagles minus 3.5. And the theme here is a little Halloween humor for you, courtesy of Deet. Never lie to an X-ray technician because they can see right through you. Not exactly sure why that's Halloween humor. Maybe because you X-ray candy, or there's all the skeletons out there running around. I don't know. Anyway, handicap synopsis. These two teams are headed in opposite directions as the Eagles are getting healthier and the New York Giants seem to be falling apart at the seams. So the Giants can't lie to those X-ray techs as they're decimated with injuries this week. And the Eagles are quite the opposite, getting back some key pieces. Fez from the Dream Preview says he thinks they were out both their wide receivers and struggled early in the year, and now they got those guys back, referring to the Eagles. Chris Raybon said Philly lost Mailata and Goddard, but the New York Giants have more significant injuries. No Andrew Thomas is a significant loss for the Giants. Getting Neighbors back is great, but the other injuries will hamper the Giants' offense. And Philadelphia has dealt with injuries, but their receivers are healthier and the offense is operating very well. Scott Seidenberg from the Dream Preview says Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns Both did not practice today, which would have been yesterday. And Andrew Thomas is out for the season. Timestamps: Action Network 24 minutes 37 seconds, Stream Preview 47 minutes 56 seconds, GM Shuffle 45 minutes 42 seconds, Even Money 18 minutes 41 seconds, and Forward Progress 20 minutes and 20.
Third game, Chiefs at the 49ers. The 49ers are favored -1.5. Super Bowl rematch. The theme. I'm going to see if I could do this with the right dramatic flair. If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? Of course, I'm betting the ambassador knows who said this, but definitely not Eric.
No.
It's from Shakespeare. Theme, revenge, Super Bowl rematch. Handicap synopsis.
Our boy Papadopoulos, he knew who that was.
I agree. San Francisco is ready and primed for their long-awaited shot at sweet revenge. All revenge is probably sweet, right? For their loss in last year's Super Bowl, San Francisco is better and healthier than the last time these two met at Super Bowl 58, when the Chiefs, of course, defeated the 49ers in overtime 25-22. From Stuckey, the Action Network, he has the 49ers power rated as number 1. He thinks KC is much worse than San Francisco from the last time these teams met in the Super Bowl. From Gil Alexander, Beating the Book, this is a good spot for the 49ers for their revenge game. Timestamps: Action Network 29 minutes 50 seconds, Beating the Book 38 minutes 20 seconds, Deep Dive not available. Forward Progress 47 minutes 11 seconds.
All right, great job. Shakespeare makes a show for the first time in history. We're pulling out all the stops here because we need it. And just remember, even Shakespeare is not sharp. But this is your Sharp Squares podcast.
Good luck out there.